Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the series that you all love and you all wonder who's gonna win. Welcome to the EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship. My name is Stephen Koenig, and we are bringing to you live at the beautiful circuit of Misano, 4.2 kilometer circuit that made its name in motorcycle racing, that eventually came to allow GT cars to come racing. It had a lot of club races, a lot of tin tops that had a bit of fun, but it eventually got to have GT3 racing. That championships were decided on the final corner at the final lap, and that is not just in real life, it's happened here at RaceFace.Pro, and we return for season 25. 10 corners and opened in 1972. The circuit is poised to be one of our exciting races. Now, let's take a look as qualifying is underway and drivers are looking to really stamp up the board, trying to see where exactly they will be at the front. Now, I also want to touch on to the championship at the moment for our Pro-Am class. The Pro-Am, who's leading it, is Keegan Bowen. So far, undefeated streak. Call this man the Undertaker, or call him anything you would like. But Keegan Bowen, so far, has won every single race on 206 points. Reginald Mitteleni is in second, with Ulrich Diago in third, followed by Conrad Martin, Benjamin Till, Anton Lummers, Gerald Torres, Graham Kelly, Michael Berg, Christian Zetman round out our top 10, with our third and fourth place, Ulrich Diago and Conrad Martin tied on 132 points. They're going to look to try and make some big moves here tonight. Christoph Peterson sits with a nearly clean sweep of races, with a second in race 2. He's on 197 points ahead of Bagger Krobler, second on 167 points. 140 points is Henry Platt, Sean Lorero in fourth, followed by Mike LaRue, Herman Whitner, Jason Farmer, Jared Bakum, Ethan Lacuna, and Jason Absmeyer rounds out the pack here tonight. And we'll be going and seeing what they can do for top 10. At the moment, top of the leaderboard, Jason Absmeyer. Talk about him, and he arrives out with the Pandassi in full force, out in first place for qualifying at the moment. And we'll be seeing how far he's willing to climb up through the order. But it's Christoph Peterson that moves up into first place. Mike LaRue down into third at the moment, and will be looking to really step up to get ahead of the pack. We've seen how quick he is, but we're looking to see what he can do here tonight. Now, I do want to also touch on, we've managed to get a couple of new things coming in. There's Keegan Bowen up into fourth place and is currently leading out the Pro-Am class. We have got Herman Whitner at the moment for the Extreme Sim Racing team, and we've brought back a little bit of a fan favorite because, well, to everyone's surprise and to mine, we have got a driver cam of Herman Whitner, and it's good to see him out and showing what he can do, and with a bit of a background as well. Get a driver look at it. Don't quite look to the camera, but you can see how focused he is, keeping an eye on the relative, looking at the apexes, and this is what we get to see from our drivers, giving us a little bit of a show and tell of what they do. So absolutely wonderful to get an inside look. We'll try and identify as they move on. Keegan Bowen down into sixth place. Peterson up into first. Absmeyer jumps up into second place. But a special welcome to everyone out in the virtual grandstand. We've got Derek Bakum that's saying hello. We got Shane along with Ren Heineke. We've got Crafter also saying how's it, along with Rob Verheerver, who has been racing last night in the LMU, did rather well. We've got Fridge joining in, Antonio Gamble going and saying how's it as well. So wonderful to see so many familiar faces joining us here at Misano. Now, the track is 15 degrees. It's ice cold out there, and it means the drivers are really going to have to think on their feet. In practice, Monday night racing this past week thus far, there was a bit of an accident into turn one. Many of the drivers have been warned, listen, take it easy, don't land up with a bit of a problem. However, it is for points here tonight for round 5 of the championship, and many of the drivers are looking at what they need to do to stay at the sharp end of the field. How are they going to go for the victories in each of their different respective classes, and where is it going to put them out on the card? So, as we keep an eye on the drivers at the moment, Christoph Peterson holds on with 0.3. He's the fastest out there at current, but now needs to see what he can do with that Merc to work out in his favor. Jason Farmer up 0.1 in the Lexus, and so is Janus Kraling in the Ravenous GT Ford Mustang GT3, 0.3 up. Herman Whitner, once again, going and showing what he can do, and on-board look of him, keeping really focused, watching the deltas, and just seeing where he can move forward. But Bagger Krobler put in the fast lap time just to get beaten up by Christoph Peterson. Each of the drivers trying everything they can, and I'm gonna gather a bit of a look here that Herman's using a Sim Magic steering wheel, looking at the 3 pedals on the back of that steering wheel, just to give him a little bit of a formula style in the GT car. Jean-Ray Buerta currently sits 0.1 up on his time. Anton Lammers, Jan Verveers down in 21st is 0.2 up. And drivers all looking good. The only driver that has had a difficult time, that hasn't got a valid time on board, is Christian Zetzman at the moment. Christian sits in 37th position. His best lap time was a 1:34.9, which would jump him up through the field. However, put a wheel off circuit, and that unfortunately has cost him. So he's really got to try and dial it up at the moment to move forward up through the ranks and see how he goes. Bagger Frobler, Mike LaRue, and Janus Kraling giving it everything they can to push a little bit harder and see how they go. Now, taking a look to Henry Platt of the Moscow Motorsports. They're going to be jumping into a BMW next season and seeing how far he can take that to the sharp end of the field in the BMW M4. So this is his final season campaigning that big Bentley. But one thing we don't get to see too often is how first place is currently sitting. Keegan Bowen and Gerard Pretorius at the moment both running a 1:33.8. Gerard Pretorius was slightly quicker on his lap. Last lap was 1:33.760 to the 1:33.725 set by Keegan Bowen. Torres comes across the line, unable to improve on that last one, did a 34, trying his utmost best to really close up the distance and wants to be able to take the fight to dethrone, so far, a driver that has won every single race. Oh, Sean Loureiro, big drift. It was able to save it. Nobody saw that. The Griffin was just checking whether the wheels were warmed up enough, and what a save through a high-speed corner. Still carrying a lot of pace on the way through. This is coming across the line. Question is, I want to see what this lap time is going to be with that tank slapper that he had. As he boots it across the line, it was a 1:34.7 despite the slide. That was getting right into a 1:33. Unfortunately, just didn't quite have the grip to bite with him at the moment. Christoph Peterson still holds the top of the cards at the moment for the pros. Bagel Krobler, Mike LaRue running in 3rd place. Janus Kraling, Jason Abschmeyer, Herman Whitner, Jason Farmer, Ruan Heineke, Jared McCoom, and Keegan Bowen rounding out our top 10. So far, Keegan keeping it all together, while Gerald Pretorius has to deal with Conrad Martin going and keeping him busy. Conrad is not waiting around at the moment. He really wants to stay in for the championship and show that he is a contender to fight it out. Chris Biermester out on circuit for the Extreme Sim Racing team. They're going to be late at taking the fight further up. And the Griffin Sim Racing team as well, looking to really keep it all together. Richard Mutilani, unfortunately, not having the time of his life out there in 19th. He's done a 1:34.1 as his quickest lap time. That McLaren just not getting the grip. You can see having to kick the rear out just to get it to rotate underneath him. Having a chat to him, he's a little bit concerned about how the race is going to go in his favor. Going and wondering, is it going to be enough? Jason Farmer trying to get a bit of improvement with 4 minutes to go. Everyone absolutely giving it a proper run for the 25th season of the EG Vault ACC GT3 Championship. brought to you by RaceFace.Pro. Big shout out to our sponsor, EG Evolved, from being part of the show and also keeping us rolling here at RaceFace.Pro. For some of the best tech needs, they've got you covered. Reginald Mutaleni coming across the line. A brilliant time for him, up into 11th at 133.6. Reginald just shy of Keegan Bowen's 133.6 dead. Well, Reginald did a 133.647, so properly close, managing to beat out Henry Platt's 133.652, and that just gives you a bit of an indication of how tight the times are between each of the drivers. It doesn't matter where you look. Jeffrey LaRue at the moment is currently 0.3 up on his time. Kevin Scruton is 0.1 up on his time, and he is tailing the back of the Aston Martin, trying to pull himself a little bit closer, going out a little bit wide, and that cost him time. Gavin tried his best. Unfortunately, wasn't quite what he needed. He did get a 134.0, he up a little bit, but not as much as he was really going for. Ethan Lacuna down in 26th position, 0.2 up. Don't count the young man out of the fight here. Ethan's been trying to keep this Porsche in contention for quite some time, and at the moment needing to really dial up the wick to see if he could stay in the fight for the Pro Championship. And at the moment lying in 9th position ahead of his teammate Jason Absmeyer. So Jean Verveers out on circuit for the Trail Bullets team, with the Verveers family going and shouting out from the back. Will be going and telling him, go, 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 absolutely hammer it on. But I do want to take a look at this car in particular, because at the moment, Bego Hrobler is on a flyer as we jump on board with the driver, peering into the corner, seeing where he needs to go. So far, he's up on his time, and it's gonna look good. If he can carry the momentum, he will be able to get first place, but only just. But there's a couple of corners he needs to contend with to make sure it happens, and he's absolutely wringing the neck of this Mustang down to third. You can see how the steering was snapping a little bit on him, losing that little bit of time down into first gear. Can he get the torque out to try and recover a little bit of pace? 2 more corners to go over the curb, fighting it left and right, down into the final corner. Can he snatch first place away from Christoph Peterson? Running out a little bit wide, and unfortunately that will not be the case. Losing out the time in the last 3 corners to capture that first place from this man here, Christoph Peterson, who's looking to better his last lap time. Oh, he goes out wide, and that invalidated his lap time as well. Was looking to get a proper one. Unfortunately, not able to go and charge his way through. Jonas Grayling, out of nowhere, managed to jump himself up into 3rd place and is ahead of Jason Absmeyer. So keep an eye on Grayling tonight. He is in for a fight of note and does not care about who's around. But what happened to Mike LaRue? He's down in 5th place with a 132.9 as his best. And unfortunately not having an easy time out there. Jeffrey LaRue, 0.1 up. So is Keegan Bowen at the moment. Drivers trying to get across the line. Sean Loureiro, 0.2 up on his time. Kerry Duplessis, Donnie Steenkamp as well, 0.3 up on his time for the Griffin Sim Racing team. So is everyone giving it the extra little step. LaRue is going to be the next one to come across the line. Can he improve? Oh, big slide out of the Ferrari. Unfortunately, that is his time done and dusted. We go to the 24, Keegan Bowen. He's trying to pick up the pace, running a little bit wide, 0.1 up on his time, hoping for it to all work out in his favor to get back into the top 10. This will be the first time this season he has not been able to qualify in the top 10. Doesn't want to break the streak there. And running out very, very close to the fringe of the circuit, carrying a lot of momentum, and across the line, 0.1 up on his time. He's into 9th place. A great charge from him. Ruben Heineke trying to pick up the pace, but so far, the only drivers out on circuit, Sean Loureiro, 0.7 up on his time, going and launching himself into 12th. Terry Duplessis will be the next one to go the extra mile, as he is currently 0.2 up on his time. Brings it through with a little bit of a slide through the final corner and across the line to get his time on the board. So drivers at the ready. And this is going to be a right and royal treat, folks. So I hope you are ready for an absolute action-packed race where drivers are going to be really digging their heels in. They're going to be getting ready for a fight and ensuring they stay in for a top 10 victory, because we're at round 5. There's 3 more races after this. There's no drop rounds to deal with, and drivers are now needing to consider what are they going to do to stay at the sharp end of the field and walk away season 25 champion here at RaceFace.Pro. And that is not an easy feat. Very few have been able to walk away with a victory. Looking at our different seasons, we've had a couple of drivers that have been able to break the mold and become multiple champions. Well, Christoph Peterson hoping to do that by defending the crown against the South Africans. But he has to deal with the South Africans that don't want to lose out to them. So folks, as we get ready to line up on the grid, we starting to see everyone getting themselves ready. They will be dropping the cars off their stands and flat onto the ground. They're trying to keep those tires up as much as possible and see where they can make it work for them. However, the main thing they've got to keep an eye on is where is the main drive out of this circuit. As we take a look at Herman Wepner, as he's keeping a close eye on the timer, you'll see on the top of his screen, so he occasionally takes a look up to it, see, because when you get to roughly about 15 seconds, 10 seconds, you drop your car down, there's final bits of work happening, and we start to see little flashes on the screen as he gets a bit of an understanding of what needs to be done. This just gives us a slight insight into what happens behind the steering wheel of our drivers, and every single person down the entire field will be doing the same thing, getting themselves ready, eyeing out to go, and focusing on what needs to be done. So, with 9 seconds to go, everyone keep an eye to the lights. It's going to be an interesting race. 1 hour and 20 minutes worth of racing, 2 mandatory pit stops, and it's make or break for the championship. Can the drivers close the distance on one another to get into the top 3? For Peterson at the moment, he's only had 1 race. He's come in 2nd place. Bego Grobler, who had a stellar run last week, was able to really break the role of what Christoph Peterson was doing. He was able to close that distance down, but it came down to the likes of our 2nd race that really showed that Christoph isn't as protected as he would like to think. Keegan Bowen, who so far won every single race in his class, will have to deal with Reginald Mutaleni lining up next to him. Reginald looking to take his first Pro-Am championship here in RaceFace.Pro, is needing to really dig that little bit deeper. After last season, losing it at the final race has really put that little bit of a dampener on him. He's going to be hoping to make it all work here tonight. So, folks, as we get ready to rock and roll, let's take a look at our grid here tonight for the EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship Season 25, powered by RaceFace.Pro. It's Christoph Peterson along with Bego Grobler, Jonas Kraling in 3rd, followed by Mike LaRue, Jason Absmeyer, Jason Farmer in 6th, Herman Wepner and Ruan Heineke, Team Bowen and Reginald Mutaleni round out your top 10. Jared Bacum along with Sean Lorero, Jeffrey LaRue, followed by Henry Platt, Gerard Pretorius, Conrad Martin, Chris Biermister, Benjamin Till, Jean-Ray Buerta, and Jaco Nadir round out your top 20. Jack Darts, followed by Vessel Loader, Ulrich de Jager, along with Johan Verveers. Ethan Lacuna out there in the Porsche will be fighting out against Gavin Scruton from Team Triad Racing. Anton Lummers, Jonathan Christed, Kerry Duplessis, and Graham Kelly round out your top 30. Victor D looking to move forward up here tonight against Donnie Sternkamp, Christian Zetzman, Jeremiah Valatham, along with Huntsy Myberg, William Wentworth, and rounding out the back of the pack, Michael Berg from the Racing Snails. So, everyone at the ready and all eyes to the front. And this man over here knows exactly what fight he is in. Bathurst looking to take a bite out of the German and looking to send the pack forward for Team Wolf. Jonas Kraling starting out in third place. First time this season out there in third from qualifying. We'll look to try and lock the door down on Mike LaRue. But as we get ready for turn 1, drivers will be getting ready to rock and roll. It has been a concern of what turn 1 is going to look like for many of the drivers. With cold brakes, cold tires, round 5, pressure on as we go lights on, waiting for the cars to get a little bit closer to the start zone. And soon as we chuck the green, it's going to be go, go, go as they drive into T1 and take a look at the field. Ruben Heineke getting swallowed up as it's all looking pretty clean through the mid-pack. Each of the drivers having an easy run, and I've got to say, hats off everyone, hats off. That was a beautiful T1, T2, and Reginald Mutalini getting overtaken by Keegan Bowen. But that is the first I have ever seen on this circuit that all the drivers were able to make it through without landing up in a spin. That is well done. That is why we got the pros and pro-ams, folks. At the moment, Abschmeyer holding on to LaRue's got Jason Farmer for a bit of company, as at the moment Peterson starts to open up the distance. Jonas Kraling keeps on the back of Bathurst, trying to close up the distance at the moment. Jack Darts drops down as he is pushed to the outside by Vessel Woda. He's going to try and go the long way around at the moment. And just ahead of him, he's trying to use Jaco Nadir for a bit of company there. Vessel going and just putting ahead. At the moment, William Wentworth holds back around Mike Berg. Sean Lerero gains position over Jared McCoomey. He was able to just clean up on the inside. And now Jared getting swallowed up by Jeffrey LaRue. So the Griffin Sim Racing team coming back in for the fight and seeing where exactly they can go. We've only had little argy-bargy moments, but I've got to say, cleanest run. But now we're starting to see the biggest changes up, and that is our pit stops. Ruben Heineke, Henry Platt, and a bunch of our other drivers have been diving into the pits after the first lap to get themselves sorted out, get rid of that first of the mandatory pit stops and focus on the race later at hand. Try to go that little bit longer in. So an interesting run for each of the drivers. Bathurst and Jonas Kraling trying to break away from Mike LaRue. Jason Abschmeyer trying out every line he can think of at the moment to not only break the toe for Jason Farmer, but also keep within closing distance. Herman Whitner at the moment trying to focus onto the back. You can see the intent at the moment to see where he can go a little bit out of shape. Tries to bring it back, and you can see having to just really focus on defending a line. And it's just a little bit of an in-cockpit view to give us a understanding of the drivers off the bat of what they need to do. Jaco Nadir up against Benjamin Till, who is having a great race out there. And a fun little fact about Benjamin Till, because he's shadow racing in two things. He's got the RAV BMW that he's in at the moment, but he also races for Team Wolf in a different league with Bathurst. So they've been in communication and trying to really dial him in with that BMW to move him up through the order. And it's interesting to see the difference. Ulrich Diago, stop-go, 30-second penalty coming on for him, and that's going to be for speeding in pit lane. And so does Jeremiah Valatham after coming out. He's got a stop-go 30-second penalty as well. They'll need to be served on their next pit stop. So by just coming off the button a little too early, due to the pit lane is rather tricky on the exit and entrance, you will be caught out. Now, another little fun fact about this circuit is its track limits can be a pain. And having to really fight your way through it, it's not going to be a different run all the way through. So, drivers start to flirt with the track limits. They've got to be aware. They've got 3 warnings they get before, unfortunately, it lands up with a bit of a whack on the chin. as we do see Chris Biermeister fighting out with Jeffrey Leroux side by side. The two Ferraris leaning on each other quite a bit there. Jared Raccoon was able to open up the distance between them, and Benjamin Till now waits in tow as both Ferraris trying to out-drag one another and really keeping into the slipstream. Chris not going and backing down. Now has Benjamin Till having a look, and Jaco Nadir trying to go around the outside of Benjamin Till. Couldn't quite make it, but man oh man did he try. Immediately Jaco will watch his rearview mirror to see Vessel Woda going and closing up the distance. 1:33.1 set by our race leader at the moment as he continues on the charge. The question is, can he keep this pace all the way through as we jump on board? This is the rear wing of Jaco Nadir at the moment as he looks to try and defend against Vessel Woda into turn 1. You can see how gentle he is into turn 1. Rides those curbs a little bit, but the Mustang is starting to be quite twitchy underneath him, and that's allowing Vessel Woda to slowly but surely gain a little bit of time. See where exactly he can close up on the brakes, just as he has. And that Mercedes is deadly on the brakes. Ethan Lacuna trying his utmost best at the moment to catch up to Jack Darts ahead of him, with Gavin Scruton right behind. And Gavin is hunting him down. Team Triad Racing with Arno Kraus along with Doug Herber have had a rather successful run this past week, and they're looking to carry that momentum forward. So Team Triad not quite out of the running as yet. They've got the Pandacity team just ahead of him, and the likes of Jack Darts hoping to close up the distance with the Rav Mac, and will be pushing harder and harder to see if he can make it work out for him. So Jack Darts needing to really dial it in for the Raven team, and hoping that he can really put those Steel Series headphones to good use as Ethan Lacuna is going to be playing the bass behind him, trying to close up that gap. Gavin has got Kerry Duplessis of the Kramandulas Racing Machine wanting to get involved in the fight as well. So a couple of drivers starting to feel the pressure, a couple of drivers starting to think about their strategies. So far, both Ulrich Diaga and Jeremiah have cleared their penalties, but have to visit the pits for the third time. William Wentworth dives into pit lane. He's going to be hoping to come out ahead of Ruben Heineke. That's not going to be the case, because here comes Heineke, who will be the marker. Now, we always talk about having a marker on the circuit for those that have done pit stops. And that is one thing we need to keep an eye on, and especially for leaders to keep an eye on, because if you're not overtaking them, it means they've managed to undercut you. You now have to think about the strategy coming into play and what the competition will be doing around you, as we've got reports of landing out into the weeds. The 38 car taking a little bit of a long visit, and let's try and take a look as we jump on board with him. He's behind Benjamin Till. Where did it all go wrong? Late on the brakes. Oh, very, very late on the brakes. A little bit of contact against Benjamin Till. Ran out wide and gave the position back to Benjamin Till, realizing, hey, listen, I synced it a little too hard there. Caught your nose, and sorry about that. Did hand the position back. Benjamin Till able to catch up to Vessel Woda, but now Jack Darts, Ethan Lacuna, Gavin Scruton, and Kerry Duplessis have closed up onto the train. Benjamin Till opting to go into pit lane. Will be getting himself sorted out. Jeffrey Leroux on Jared Raccoon at the moment. The Griffin Sim Racing team up against Team Wolf. Looked for the outside line, couldn't quite get it done. They've got Chris Biermeister going and flirting with the track limits right behind them, and ensuring he can really keep in for the fight here. And that is going to be a deadly little run, because Chris is making up time on the brakes, but just not having enough in the straight line to help him out in this fight. Kingbone leads out the Pro-Am with Reginald Mutalini left in a fight with Sean Loureiro, who is at the moment at a little bit further down for the pros. Reginald, second in his class, is now losing valuable time, nearly 3 seconds to Keegan Bowen, and needing to really dial him in to get that pass done and dusted without going and landing up in a bit of a hurt, because right now, Jared Raccoon, Jeffrey Leroux, Chris Biermeister, they're closing up that distance at a rate of knots and ensuring that they can stay in as close as they can. Jason Farmer puts in the pressure onto Jason Abschmeyer at the moment. Tries to look for the inside line, couldn't quite get the pass done. Abschmeyer managing to just get the acceleration out from Farmer. However, now needs to try and close up to Mike LaRue, who's got Janus Kraling just ahead of him and keeping him rather busy, as the drivers will be looking for every advantage. This is a circuit that is so difficult to pass flat out through majority of these corners as they fast and sweeping, and if you just go a little too wide, you will go visiting the countryside. So it's precise driving the whole way through. Gavin pulls into the pits and now getting himself sorted as we take a look at Jean-Ray Buerta and Conrad Martin going and fighting it out. And for the Team Kerygma Racing, let's try and jumpstart a little bit for Team Kerygma Racing that ran this the previous Porsche and this one in a little blue and silver in endurance racing. Team Kerygma Racing was actually one of the stronger of the teams for endurance. So fun little fact there with Jean-Ray Buerta, Jack Darts and Ethan Lacuna. They having a fight with one another, and ultimately Jack Darts not quite getting the pace. Now has to deal with the likes of Ferry Duplessis, who has closed up at a rate of knots behind him. And Ferry hoping to stay right on course at the moment. Sean Lerero and Reginald Muttolini fight it out. Reginald just not having that straight line. We'll have to think about what's the next plan to get the pass done and dusted as he hunts down for any opportunity. Holds it down into fifth, down into fourth, tapping the brake on off the whole time. Not smooth onto the brake and smooth off. He's just trying to give it that little bit of a touch to get the rear to rotate in with him. Not quite happy with his trail braking with the setup, but is still maintaining a really tight run. Great exit, but very close to track limits. Eyes out towards T1, backs off, rather waits it out behind Sean Lerero, who is just maintaining his pace. For Reginald Muttolini, this is a brilliant on-track battle, but is costing him dearly for the Pro-Am class, and he needs to try and capitalize on a pass if he feels he's fast enough to get it done. Well, that's one way to do it. Elbow to elbow racing. Got to leave the space. As now Sean Lerero, who lost out that little bit of drive, gets into the clutches of Jared Bakumi. He's now trying to close the distance up between him and might be looking to return the favor. Dives on the inside, gets it done. Can he stop it on the apex? He has, and that forces Reginald Muttolini out wide, costing him the drive. And now this has turned it into a bit of a problem for Reginald Muttolini. He holds the inside line. He loses the drive. He's trying to force Lerero out wide, who throws out that car. Jared Bakumi now capitalizes on him. Look to try and get the pass done. Jeffrey LaRue trying to close up the gap as well. Each of this train starting to one-up one another. Lerero, big look on the inside of Reginald Muttolini. Couldn't quite get that pass done. Waits it out yet again, and Jared immediately closes up at a rate and not. Jeffrey LaRue and Chris Beermister all throwing down on one another, thinking what do they need to do to be at the top. Lerero getting a little unsettled, and that is allowing the train to lose track of Reginald Muttolini. Mike LaRue onto the back of Janus Kraling, trying to see where exactly can he get that pass done and dusted, and at the moment has got Abschmeyer for a little bit of company, but that is Victor D. Unfortunately, ran out wide into the dirt. The Nissan GTR just not having the easiest time. He's been slowly but surely improving, but at the moment, now needing to just get that consistency under the belt to make him that little bit more lethal on the track. Jared Bakumi and Sean Lerero doing everything they can to hold back Jeffrey LaRue and Chris Beermister. Well fighting it out. Victor D into the pits. And now Jeff looks on the inside. Can he get it done on the Team Wolf? Oh, a little bit of over-rotation and catches out Chris Beermister, who had nowhere to go. Clipped the nose of him, and that threw both those drivers a little bit further down. Jochen Gier and Jeffrey LaRue going and saying, well, that's not quite what we had in planned, but for Vesselrode and Jochen Gier, they've got a position not quite how they wanted it to be. They wanted to try and fight it out properly, but man, oh man, you've just got to be close enough and capitalize on these moments now. It's going to be a fight as Chris has to defend against Vesselrode, who's third place of the Pro-Ams. He's now trying to clear up by. He needs to catch up to Reginald Mutalini that's up the road from him. He's got Jaco Nadir for a bit of company, who is in the pro class that Chris does not want to have getting around him at the moment. So Vessel, for the likes of the Crumdulus racing machine, now needing to really dial it up to ensure he stays at the top of the pack. Jack Darts hoping that it's going to work out in his run for the championship as well, but Jaco Nadir and Jeffrey LaRue now having a big throwdown with one another, and Jeffrey LaRue having to just move back onto the circuit, light lift. Got to be so careful not to run those track limits, and now Ethan Lacuna closes right back onto him. Another little fight happening out at the front. Jason Farmer and Jason Absmeyer, the Jasons, now trying to see what they can do to move forward up through this field, and with Mike LaRue, who is now a little bit further up ahead and starting to open up the distance, you can be sure that Farmer and Absmeyer are going to start trying to use a little bit of veteran knowledge here to see if they can close the distance. Never mind, it's going to be all about a brute force overtake for Farmer and Absmeyer. However, Absmeyer was able to hold back Farmer just a little bit, who gets a bit squirrely under braking. Flat out, and away they go. No breathing room between these two as they fight out for the top 5 at current. And so far, we haven't even had 20 minutes of the race, and we are seeing some incredible fights up and down through the order. Now, we did talk about the marker. Ruben Heineke up to 22nd position at the moment and is still climbing. He is doing everything he can to stay within arm's reach of the rest of the drivers to ensure that he makes it work out in his favor, as we did see the likes of Chris Biermester trying to break the toe for the likes of Jaco Nadir, Veswoda all behind him, and they are tailing at the moment, trying to figure out what's going to be the best plan here. Look for the inside line, couldn't quite get it done. Hoping to push that a little bit more. However, it is never gonna be an easy run for our drivers to ensure they stay at the sharp end of the pack. Everyone having to think, what is the big plan here? How do you move forward? And where are you going to stay at the top? It's all about the runs. It's all about the chase. But who has got enough to stay at the top of the pack? Launching their way through, Jaco Nadir loses out the drive, running a little bit too wide, and that is going to cost him a lot of time at the moment. He's really fighting with the Mustang and starting to eat those tires up, as we do see the Crumdulus racing machine of Veswoda. He's going on the attack for Chris Biermester, try to get the pass done. Fortunately, not working out, and that's allowed Jaco to get a bit closer. LaRue gets caught in the Constantina effect and closes up at a rate of knots. However, not having the drive on the exit, going and throwing him further back into the clutches of Ethan Lacuna. So these drivers who are fighting so far for 12th all the way down to 16th position are not backing where the rest of our field has stabilized with roughly a second between them, and all starting to think about what is the big game plan here. What do they need to do to stay at the sharp end of the field, as we jump back on board the rear wing of Jaco Nadir, as he does have Jeffrey LaRue going and checking those tailpipes, making sure he can see all 8 pistons straight through the exhaust. Now LaRue in the tow. You can see no subtle moves coming into play as Jaco wants to ensure he gets the best drive. Oh, Ethan Lacuna up, breaks himself, runs out wide. That cost him a bit of time, and has likes of LaRue opening up the distance. Jaco Nadir, we saw that just in his mirror, will be going and keeping a very close eye. Jason Farmer and Jason Absmeyer keep each other busy. Mike LaRue goes onto the back of Janus Kraling, so don't count out the Raven West team and the Green Speed Innovations Venomworks racing team, who gets it very sideways out of the final corner. Not having an easy race at all. It's starting to feel that pressure. Veswoda now holds on to 3rd of the Pro-Am. He's got pros behind him. He wants to ensure he keeps ahead of Jack Dotz, who is going to be the man that will land up, throwing him down the order. Mike LaRue, young Australian, yet again. Easy drive coming out for both of them, not pushing way too hard at the moment against one another. Just keeping himself in the tow. Trying to focus on what is going to be the best run for him. Young Australian running the same pace, the same times. It's comfortable for both drivers at the moment, as we do see LaRue getting a little bit sideways while Railing starts to flirt with those track limits again. And I do suspect there's a good couple of drivers that are sitting with 3 warnings under their belt. Jack Darts loses out to Kerry Duplessis, and now here comes the likes of Jonathan Crissett, who will be trying to close the distance. Ulrich Diaga tries to get the pass done and dusted for the Griffin Sim Racing team. 8 on the brakes. 35th position car is allowed to unlap himself, and now looking to just continue through. So Jack Darts will allow Ulrich Diaga to lead the pace to try and pull him away from this man over here, Jonathan Crissett, out in the Aston Martin, who is on a almighty charge. Kerry Duplessis also not too far up the road for Jack Darts to go for an overall track position. However, it's not going to affect him in class at the moment. He's 4th and he needs to catch up to Vesselwoda. So by getting it horribly wrong, he lands up miles off the dirt. I was just talking about what you need to do, and unfortunately he managed to get it completely wrong. So let's jump on board and just see this moment where it all went out of shape for Jack Darts. So in the tow with Ulrich Diaga. Did he miss his brake board? Yes, he may have done that. Up again into 6th, still accelerating. Forgot where he was on the circuit. Jack Darts, at a moment of relapse, went and forgot where he was out on circuit, completely missed the board, and unfortunately now a little bit frazzled trying to pick up where he is on the track. As we get further reports of Kerry Duplessis, and that's Ulrich Diaga in the mix as well. The two of them have come to blows. Let's quickly go to Tim in the helicam and find out what exactly happened to these two. Kerry Duplessis, who was sitting up in 19th position, Ulrich Diaga 35th, as they were making their way through. So what on earth happened to get these two turned around? Outbraked himself into the back, and there's Jonathan Crissett getting on by. Jack Darts around, but Ulrich Diaga outbraking himself, catches the rear of the car, and unfortunately that tosses him down the order. Jean-Ray Puerta minding out of the way of Gerard Pretorius as they barge their way around the circuit, doing everything they can. Ren Heineke still holds on to 22nd position and is trying to close up the distance. Hansi Myberg runs out wide and is just allowing the field to come through. That is the top end of the field. Hansi deciding to go off circuit, allows the cars to come through, rejoins safely, and now continues on the race. He's keeping a very close eye on that relative to ensure he doesn't play into any problems for Jason Abschmeyer, his teammate that's fighting out for the top 5. Sean Larrea, Reginald Muttolini continue their brawl with one another. At the moment, Reginald Muttolini not having the easy time. Jochen Adair pulls into the pit lane and will be falling behind. Sean Larrea doing everything he can in that Nissan GTR onto the back of Reginald Muttolini to just stay within arm's reach at the moment, not wanting to go for any big attacks. He's just focusing. Get the car around, make sure I'm okay, make sure I can get this to the very, very end. There's no reason to go and throw away just as yet with 56 minutes remaining. It's 2 mandatory pit stops to work with here, and so far from first all the way down to 20th are drivers that still need to get that first pit stop underneath their belt, that short stop, or possibly go for the longer stop, change tyres, and continue on the race. We've seen those alternative strategies come into play depending on the tyre wear. 2 Aston Martins really going at it. Jonathan Crissett and Christian Zetzman. As you can see, Christian was sliding the car around, trying everything he can to stay in for the fight. Michael Berg, who started stone cold last, continues on in 21st position. Ulrich Diaga in pit lane, trying to get his pit stop done and dusted, and also will be looking to rejoin the circuit. Jeremiah Valenthin going out a little bit wide as we did get a momentary of our yellow flag out for him as he was minding our way for our cricket drivers at this point. But talking about the cricket drivers, is Christoph Peterson 5 seconds up the road from Vega Kobler in second, and Australian holds on to third place with Mike LaRue on his tail. Jason Abschmeyer and Jason Farmer hold on to 5th and 6th, 7th place, Herman Wepner. And then we've got first place of our Pro-Am category. That's Keegan Bone. Reginald Mutileni in second. He's got Sean Herrero, who's a Pro Division driver, behind him. Jared McComb also closing up the distance there. Wessel Woda currently holds on to third place of the Pro-Am. He's got Jeffrey LaRue hunting him down. Ethan Lacuna, Chris Biermester, Jonathan Chrissett, along with Christian Zetzman in that 17th position. Jack Dart's a little bit further down. Kerry Duplessis and running out top 20 is Rern Heineke, who managed to get ahead of Michael Berg, the first of the cars that have not done any of their pit stops and will be trying to move his way a little bit further up the road. This is a brilliant tell for the drivers to think about what they need to do to stay at the sharp end of the field. How far are they willing to go here at RaceFace for round 5 of the EG Involved ACC GT3 Championship Season 25, and with everything of bragging rights to go and find it out. It's all or nothing at this stage of the game, pinning some of the fastest drivers from across the world, and I can't even say just South Africa, it's across the world, as we got international drivers like Christoph Peterson and various others from the likes of England, Ireland, Germany, and so much more joining us, as it's wonderful to have so many drivers going and showing off what they can do. Do you see one of the Griffin Sim Racing team going and lying past happen for Jason Farmer to have a go at Abschmeyer? A quick radio call, I think, was said, as we do have a car that's off into the dirt. That's Donnie Steenkamp, who got caught off with Jeremiah Valenthin. The two of them came to blows, the 26 at the 16. That was right behind the fighting. So what on earth happened to Jeremiah Valenthin? Did he run into Donnie, who was running out a bit wide? Valenthin was carrying a lot of pace through, and on the brakes, oh man, Jeremiah got out of shape and was just a passenger in his car, thrown into the back and once again into the dirt, waiting for the field to come on by, trying to straighten the car up. Jeremiah, unfortunately, not having an easy time out there after a big off into the back of Donnie, who was just a sitting duck. Both drivers, you can't even say what it was. LaRue managing to get ahead of Vessel Woda. Now Ethan Lacuna trying to go around the outside. Vessel doing everything he can to stay in the brawl. Right behind them, Ulrich de Jager trying to unlap himself. Just seeing this fighting bunch, he wants to clear them as quick as possible. And right behind him is a driver that is fighting for position to Ethan Lacuna in 14th. It is Chris Biermester, who is trying to close that gap up at a rate of knots. Each of these drivers going the extra mile. Ethan Lacuna up on the inside, backed out of it. Couldn't quite get that pass done on Vessel Woda. Tried his hand, looked at it, decided it's a possibility, but he's rather going to wait it out this a little bit, especially around the back here. As drivers will need to consider their pace with their tyres, and also not to go too far wide, as we've seen a couple of drivers catching those marbles and landing up miles and miles into the dirt, and seeing where exactly they can move forward. Sean Herrera up against Reginald Mutileni, still continuing on. Donnie Steenkamp, he has not gone into the pits to repair his car after the big impact he's had. He's going to watch the mirrors and see Sean Herrera, who will be shouting from the rafters saying, come on Donnie, you got to keep going here buddy. I've got Reginald Mutileni ahead of me, and he's in 9th, and I want that position as he cuts the corner. They got Jared McComb in the Porsche, trying to close up the distance as well, doing everything he can. Herman Whitner onto the back of Jason Abschmeyer now will be staring and trying to figure out what is going to be the big plan, as Abschmeyer with a drive-through penalty going and costing him time. This means that for Herman Whitner, sees Abschmeyer, goes out a little bit wide, Oh, and you could see, try to control the slide on the way through. Absolutely focused, not even a wave to Jason Abschmeyer, who continues to brawl it on. And Keegan Bowen going to be hunting down as well, as Keegan all over the back of Herman Whitner as he stands. Abschmeyer, who tumbles down the order, will be going and kicking himself. That was for track limits exceeded. Now Keegan up on the inside with Herman trying everything he can to keep it all in check. You can see how just standing on the anchors, trying to slow the car down, physically tensing up on the body to try and keep this Pro-Am driver behind him. And it's just getting almighty with the car. The focus needed by all the drivers. And absolutely well done. It's good to see our cameras putting on a good show. And so far, no panic coming in from Keegan Bowen and Herman Whitner fighting out close. Abschmeyer into the pits with his drive-through penalty. It just hasn't been the season for Abschmeyer. Really, really hasn't. He's had some really big highs, but a lot of lows coming in, and has been working out the kinks. Got to remember that Abschmeyer has been out of the racing game for a fair amount of time, and then has been picked up by the Panda Acity team, so taking off a lot of rust and cobwebs at the moment and working with his team to try and get himself a little bit more up in the order. He's got the straight line pace, he's got the cornering, but just needs to get that little bit of consistency under his belt. Talk about that, Vesselwoda goes into the dirt, and Ethan Lacuna says thank you very much. Chris Biermester immediately snatches onto the back of the Mercedes. Now looking to go around the outside. Vessel's going to defend the inside line. Swap round, looks for the undercut. Oh, that did not end the way they wanted. And it was just bump, bump, barge. As we take a look at that defense. Man, oh man. Let's quickly go back and jump to our heli cam because we want to take a look at this viewing. Actually, let's go a little bit further. Let's go into the helmet cam because I'm curious of Chris Biermester. So he closed up at a rate of knots. Looked to the outside, waited, braked early, went for the switchback. Unfortunately, the gap wasn't quite there. He would have had to put two wheels onto the dirt, onto the inside, to go up on the inside. But there was a corner that was closing off on him. Took the gamble, unfortunately, for this loader that chucked him way, way down into 19th position at the moment. And will be reeling from that one. And I'm sure not going to be the happiest camper behind the wheel. Ethan Lacuna in 12th position. Drive-through penalty. That makes two of the Panda Acity cars with the drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded. And it's going to be through the back, the section, the double right-hander, or even into turn 1, turn 2. That is costing them as drivers naturally get that understeer to take the curve a little too much. And it starts to pull them into a bit of a nightmare situation. So, a couple of drivers out there running into a problem. Abschmeyer parked in pit lane. Are they going to get this car back out to carry on with the race? Or are they calling it here for Abschmeyer? Almost certainly hope that the Panda Acity team can get that car back out on circuit. Kerry Duplessis down the inside of Jack Darts, trying to put his nose forward. Oh, and both of them getting caught out. And, oh, solid impact into the wall for Kerry. Jack Darts got the better of it. And unfortunately, that went and threw them down. Vessel sees it and goes, well, not my problem. Carry on. Yakun Adir with a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded. But man, oh man, we're starting to see the accidents pile up at the moment. Jack Darts. And let's quickly go and take a look from our helicam on that incident. It was out of the corner. Oh, just ran out wide. Kerry Duplessis was thinking there was enough place for him to come back onto the racing line, but the front of the car was just too far forward and catching the back of Jack Dart's car. Jack, unfortunately, nothing he could do there but getting rotated around, and Kerry Duplessis just not quite getting the spacing right to maneuver the car around. And something that does happen here in the world of GT3 racing, sitting so far back when you get caught out. So, looks like Abschmeyer's car, they parked it for whatever rhyme or reason. They can't get that car out on circuit. Anton Lummers having a go at Conrad Martin, two teammates and two former teammates. I mean, these two have gone through the absolute mill with one another, being friends, rivals, foes, everything in between. I've sat in conversations where Anton has been going at Conrad doing the same to Anton, and the Negrini Motorsports car up against Conrad Martin, this avid cyclist who will look to go and pedal his way from all the competition, is now in a fight of note. Remember, he's trying to move forward. Now, big talking point is this driver here, Christoph Peterson, who was leading out the field by a long run, is now in the pit lane. He is dropping down the order as we see Sean Herrera and Richard Muzzolini come on by, and Jared McComb following through. That means Bago, Krobler, Janus Grayling, and Mike LaRue hold on to the top three, and Christoph Peterson taking the early pit stop and taking the gamble to move forward at the moment. So great one there. I do want to also put out a bit of a note, and I heard this through the grapevine, that there's a certain Pace Motorsports. For anyone that knows Pace Motorsports, there's a driver in Pace Motorsports that is going to be having a rather exciting time this weekend. So a congratulations to Pace of Pace Motorsports on becoming a father. If we can get everyone just to say congratulations to him. Sure, might get this at some point, and might be asking many questions of who let the cat out the bag. But to Pace Motorsports, well done on having another enduro driver coming into the world of sim racing. Sean Herrera and Reginald Muttolini fight it out with one another and continue on the charge, with Sean Herrera running very close to those track limits. So is Reginald Muttolini. I am so surprised these two have not been catching track limits exceeded, as we've seen many of the others. Keem Bowen, who has opened up the distance between these two, 11 seconds, has got little to no concern to deal with them, and is going to be thinking about the strategy. Christoph Peterson down into 15th position at the moment, now trying to move his way up through the order. He's got Vessel Woda ahead of him. He's going to have to try and clear these cars as quick as possible. Remember, they're running on overall track position. They're not blue flags, so they can defend as hard as they want against you. You can't do anything about it other than try and figure out how to pass. As we do see Morero, big look on Reginald Muttolini, gets a pass done, and immediately Jared McComb trying to go around the outside. Jared fearless as ever, as he hunts down to try and get the pass on Reginald Muttolini. And I've got to say, there's not often we get to see Jared McComb with the teeth out that we've seen in his earlier racing from 2025 to to the later of 2024. But Jared is definitely coming to his own and is looking to move his way forward against the Reginald Muttolini, has been the staple here in RaceFace.Pro for many years. That's what Christoph Peterson making their way by. Peterson flashing lights, but he's saying, listen, please, just give me a gap here. I want to come through. I want to get this done without too much of a fight. Vessel, on the other hand, says, listen, we're fighting full position. I'm going to hunt you down regardless, with a quick flash of lights as well. Saying, okay, well, buddy, I just want to get this done. Closes up the distance. They're racing full position. It is not about who's got the fastest lap, who is on some type of strategy. It's now, remember, the fight's at hand, because Vessel Oda is trying to close up to Christian Zetzman, who holds third place of the Pro-Am. Jeffrey LaRue pulls into the pits, Chris Biermeister into the pits, and ideas starting to roll in here for the drivers. Henry Platt getting a little bit out of shape. Now got Kerry Duplessis up the road from him. He's got Jack Dart trying to close up, as we do see Christian Zetzman pull into pit lane. Vessel Woda is going to be considering his options. He gets past and he's just flashing his lights. He is aggravated with Christoph Peterson, and I wonder, I really do wonder that if the driver is taking that focus off that little bit of a flash that came from the likes of Peterson, who is trying to say, listen, I'm on a different plan here. I'm on a pro. You're a pro-am. We're fighting in two different classes. Let's think about the big picture here on one another. He was flashing his lights. And I do think Vessel's taken that a little bit to heart and is now trying to go and irritate the same way. However, you're taking your mind off the race, and that starts to slow you down. You need to try and put it behind you. Take a lot of that past, whatever the incidents were, put it behind you and carry on the race to ensure you keep going. Mike LaRue, Herman Whitner pull into the pits, and Herman going to be keeping a very close eye here. And let's quickly take a look on board as he gets into the pit. So Herman Whitner trying to identify the box, and will be waiting as lights all over, looking for the countdown. He's got the black box to the right hand side. A little bit of a double check on the lungs, and manages to get himself rolling. Quick look around, trying to wait for his time, and will be rejoining the field, but he's also keeping a very close eye on everyone pulling into the pits now. Henry Platt waits to come on, launching his way through. Herman still trying to wait for his time, gets out of pit lane, but unfortunately down the order. Gotta say, not quite what he wanted to have, and it's a slow going through this pit lane. You gotta wait and wait and wait before you release the pit limiter. Only now you can release the pit limiter and go racing, and that is a tremendously long time. Beggar Krubler continues on the drive while Jonas Kraling and Jason Farmer dive into the pits. It's going to be Keegan Bowen into pit lane as well. He's opened up just enough gap to ensure he stays in for the fight. Sean Herrera and Reginald Mutalini, are they going to consider the pit stops? For Reginald Mutalini, it's going to be thinking about the undercut, or is he going to go for the overcut? Is he going to go that little bit longer? He is going to go longer than Keegan Bowen. He's going to go that extra lap and seeing if that's going to help him out to go for the top spots. But I do want to point out a driver that has completed all his pit stops, and that is Conrad Martin and Anton Lammers, that are the drivers that have completed all their pit stops, and the first of the drivers that have completed all their pit stops. Ron Heineke gets into the pits now. Remember, he was the first driver to do a pit stop. Now goes and gets himself organized to complete all these pit stops to try and get ahead of Conrad Martin, Gavin Scrooge and Anton Lammers, but also is going to be the identifying point for Christoph Peterson here of where he needs to get into the pits. Beggar Krubler, Sean Herrera, Reginald Mutalini still out on track, needing to do their pit stops. Jack Dart as well, trying to pick up the pace, needs to do his first pit stop. The rest of the field have gone through the pits. They have gotten themselves sorted out and now trying to figure out that extra little distance. They're trying to see what is going to draw them a little bit closer into the fight and where are they going to make up the time. All thinking about what's the big plan here as Jack Dart's hunting his way around, trying to see where he could close up the distance. Henry Platt opens up a lot of room between himself and Jack Darts, with William Wentworth acting as a little bit of a buffer between them. So, that being said, Mike LaRue diving into pit lane and out. So Mike LaRue getting all his pit stops done, comes out in 13th position. Beggar Krubler and Sean Herrera into the pits. Rachel Mutalini takes over the lead of the race and will be trying to hold on to it for as long as he can. But Mike LaRue coming out in 13th position, and Christoph is in 5th up the road. And there's Christoph Peterson. So let's keep an eye on this. Mike LaRue trying for a serious undercut here on Christoph Peterson with 36 minutes to go. It's going to be a bit of a hard push, I would think, as Beggar probably gets overtaken. Christoph back into second place. We'll have Reginald Mutalini leading out the Pro-Am with Jack Darts and Keegan Bowen, who's currently third place of the Pro-Am. Sean Herrera, Beggar Krubler, they're going to be dropping down the order because it's Christoph Peterson that takes over the lead of the pros with Beggar Krubler and Henry Platt now up into third place. And Henry has got Bago clear in his sight. Jonathan Crissett fighting out against William Wentworth, who manages just to get his nose ahead. Part of the Wentworth brothers, Robert Wentworth going and racing with William Wentworth for many, many years. And William trying everything he can. Was originally with the Kai K team in the early 2020s, believe it or not. And it was one of the founding members of the Kai K team at that time as well in the world of ACC racing with Tebo Noloto, if I remember correctly. And it was Devon. No, it wasn't Devon, no. I don't think it was. Part of it. I'm trying to go right back into my mind into all the different racing, and it's interesting to see how many drivers have gone through the ranks, swapped out through teams, and eventually landed up where they are, going and pushing that little bit more, seeing how far they can go. Jason Abshmai goes back all the way to White Rabbit Gaming. That was a team that dominated RaceFace at one stage of the game against Team Tryhard and Hybrid Academy that were going and racing, and later it was Genesis Extreme that was in for the fight as well. So we've had some really, really dominating teams over the years, over the 25 seasons that this series has existed, and has seen some of the most exciting battles up and down through the order, and it still continues on to this day. Don't take it away from Crumadulas Racing and from Griffin Sim Racing. These two teams have slugged it out for, I would say, since I started doing commentary back in 2020, 2021 here at RaceFace.Pro, these two teams have been a staple fight between one another. Between Wessel, Voda and Ruin Heidecke, they have crossed swords more than once on the circuit and continue to do so. So a bit of a throwback to history and featuring some of the oldest teams here in RaceFace.Pro. A team I would say that's missing out of the pack that is not quite on the circuit is the KSR team that existed in years gone by. So as we get away from a little bit of old history, we look towards a new. Ruin Heidecke, third of those that completed all the pit stop, now trailing, and the likes of Mike LaRue currently hold on to first and second of those that have pitted. LaRue up into 11th position. Is in for a very, very viable chance to move forward. The question is, can he keep that pace up? Can he move forward enough to stay in for the fight? As Vessel goes up a little bit wide, and that has allowed Ruin Heidecke to sneak on in. Vessel now gets right behind him, and remember, just a little bit up the road is Vessel's teammate, Kerry Duplessis. Will be watching this in the rearview mirror and thinking, okay, what do I need to do to try and clear your teammate without losing time in the process? Mike LaRue up against Jared McComb. Now, Jared can be quite clever here. Remember, he's fighting for overall track position. He is still able to put in the fight, and now can play a little bit of defense for Bago Krobler. Does exactly that by guarding the lines, as we see Jack Darts getting a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded. But Mike LaRue, who is hunting down to get past Jared, Jared is doing, you know what, we always talk about relying on your teammates and how it can help. Jared will be relaying the information to Bago Krobler, saying, right, this is what's happening, this is who's behind me, and I'm going to try and fight it out. And he's doing exactly that. It's clean, it's no argy-bargy, but he is making life extremely difficult for LaRue to get on by, and LaRue is knowing that this is compromising time. This is hemorrhaging time, as Reginald Mutalini finally gets into the pit lane with 31 minutes to go to complete his first pit stop of the race. But LaRue, who's looking for the victory at the moment, has got Christoph Peterson miles up the road from him. He's got Jared ahead of him that's protecting Bago Krobler, because now Bago can think about his plan. Mike LaRue getting desperate, looks up on the inside, really took that dive in, try and get the pass done. Nothing much Jared could do to defend there. Had to open up the steering, and that was a right royal put it on the inside and hope that the driver has enough to back out of it. Jared, however, is not out of the fight and will look to try and close up the distance, but he has done enough to hold them back. He's done enough to carry the momentum forward and done enough to try and protect Bago that little bit more. You know what? When you got a teammate that's willing to fall on the sword like that, that is a teammate you share a milkshake with. Keegan Bowen and Herman Wepner now looking to fight it out. Pro versus Pro-Am. And just ahead of them, they do have an interesting little fight with Jonathan Chrislett, who is trying to keep ahead at the moment with Jack Darts on the back of him. Jack Darts, who recently just served his drive-through penalty. Ethan Lacuna into the pits for his final pit stop of the race, is looking to try and get over on Jack Darts. And we do see Jack, unfortunately, landing up into the dirt. That allows Keegan and Herman to clear on by. And Herman's going to be watching those rear-view mirrors like a hawk. Both drivers doing everything to drive it out of the life, because they know they need to consider the options. Reginald Mitteleni, who came out in 9th position, remember, he went in long here for his race, and now has got one more pit stop to go. The only concern is Vessel Woda, who's still got a pit stop left underneath his belt, and there is Reginald Mitteleni double stacking the pit stops. So Reginald Mitteleni double stacks his pit stops to try and throw it out. And that's Henry Platt, allowing Jason Farmer to go on by. And I do want to take my hat off to that very, very precise moment, because, folks, not often you get to see it. But when you know there's a driver that's a little bit quicker than you, and you know that you're in a different race, there's a point where you start to decide it's not worth the fight, and instead you're going to let the driver pull your way through. He indicates the right-hand side, showing where he's going to be, and allows Farmer to go up the inside. That bit of communication in between them, and a quick flick of the hazard lights from Jason Farmer, acknowledging and thanking Henry Platt from doing it. That is some serious courtesy. That is a tip of the hat, dear sir, between one another, and drivers that know each other far too well, and where they can move forward. All right, you're a little bit quicker, pull me along, and let's try and figure out the next plan here. Reginald Mitteleni completed all his pit stops. He's now behind Lummers and Martin. So now Anton Lummers guards a line, who has completed all these stops. Conrad Martin has completed all these stops. So this is a fight right to the end between Conrad Martin, Anton Lummers, and Reginald Mitteleni. All three drivers know what's on the line here, and they see that Vesselwoda and Christian Zesman, who are currently sitting second, third of the Pro-Ams, still needing to do their final pit stops. Christoph Peterson still needs to do his final pit stop. Bago Frubler, Jason Farmer, Henry Platt, Herman Wepner, Keegan Bowen, Sean Herrera, Jeffrey LaRue, all needing to do their final stops in the race, and we'll be thinking about what they need to do to move forward. For Keegan Bowen at the moment, he is clear of his competition in the Pro-Am, and now just needs to keep it all together. He keeps the pressure on Herman Webber. He's not going for any aggressive overtakes, and just thinking about what is the big plan here, as we do see a big dive into the corner for Reginald Mitteleni. Anton Lummers trying everything he can as they charge into T1. Out wide for Reginald Mitteleni as he feels the pressure, because Gerard Pretorius has now come into the picture here and has an opportunity to fight out for second and third in class. Lummers trying his hand to hold back Mitteleni as both continue to fight on, both trying to see what they can do to move forward. It's going to be a rough race indeed, and these drivers are going to be sweating bullets. There is no question there. Gavin Scruton from Team Try Hard Racing. He's got Benjamin Till on the back of him, the RAV BMW, going and fighting it out. And I believe he was formerly a Racing Snail. He's now a Raven BMW. And then he was later moved to a Team Wolf in overseas racing with Bago Kubler. So he's a driver of many hats that is moving his way around. Jack Darts and Ethan Lacuna keeping each other company at the moment as they fight out for 27th, 28th position. but all starting to settle in towards the top. It's down at the bottom at the drivers' starting field. Donnie Steenkamp holds to the inside line, allowing the drivers to clear on by. And once again, just being that courteous driver out there. Oh, Reginald Montalini catches the wall, trying to slow into T1. Gerald Pretorius is right on the back of him. Anton Lummers is making work for this one. A big look down the inside. Montalini gets it done. Now needs to accelerate as hard as he can to get around Anton Lummers, who tries to come back around the outside. It is McLaren on McLaren violence here, with Gerald Pretorius putting the nose into the Mustang. Gerald's got the drive. Can he keep it all together? Got a good exit, runs out a bit wide, snaps out behind Anton Lummers. It's a drag race between the two of them, heading into the left-hander. It's going to be late on the brakes. Lummers is forced out wide, losing out the drive, and now having to rethink of what he can do as Gerard runs out a little bit wide. Donnie Steenkamp having to hit the brakes and tries his best to move forward. It is monstrous racing out here, folks. Everyone trying to figure out what is the big game plan, what needs to be done, and the questions start to come in from the front as well, because Mike LaRue is now 1.8 seconds to Jeffrey LaRue, who holds on for 8th place. Reginald Montalini with a drive-through. Sean Larrera with a drive-through. Reginald's taken his fight out of the top 3. He's tossed it to the side with track limits. And after everything he's done, scores a drive-through. And that will be going and driving him absolutely mental. A critical mistake coming in for Montalini, who was looking for a podium here at Misano. And now will be thinking, what on earth do I need to do to go for this championship? Lorero hunting down Keegan Bowen at the moment, has gotten enough room to his own teammate Jeffrey LaRue. However, will need to go through the pit lane for a drive-through. He's got Yakun Nadal on the back of him, trying everything he can to clear on by. And there is LaRue fighting out against Mike LaRue versus Jeffrey LaRue. Mike trying to go around the outside, and the two LaRues not arguing with one another. Tip of the hat once again, but Jeffrey not putting too much of a fight there, knowing that, okay, let's pull me along a little bit here. We're in a different fight, it seems. But Keegan Bowen is next on the chopping block for Mike LaRue, and he's 28 seconds up the road. So that is a long, long climb for the drivers as they continue on. Reginald Montalini, as we do see Graham Kelly's with a drive-through penalty as well. So Kelly now needing to get himself sorted. Reginald Montalini caught behind William Wordsworth, and Benjamin Till in overall positioning will be going and kicking himself a little bit. Peterson up into first, with Bago Krobler into second, Jason Farmer in third, Henry Platt into fourth, Herman Webner into fifth. Top 5 of our program is Keegan Bowen, followed by Vessel Woda at the moment, with Christian Zetzman chasing him down. Conrad Martin, who's completed all his pit stops, has got Gerald Pretorius and Anton Lummers rounding out that top 5 that are fighting it out. So you can see Anton Lummers now has got the leader on his tail. You can be sure that Christoph is going to be wanting to clear as quick as possible, knowing the threats are around him. Jonas Kraling had a brilliant qualifying up into 3rd place in quali. Fortunately down into 11th at the moment. Has got the Extreme Sim Racing team of Chris Biermeister up ahead of him. Now trying to clear that Ferrari. And for the Ravens West GT, needing to really take a bite out of the Extreme car. Not going to be an easy time here, because at the moment Chris Biermeister is playing a little bit of guardian for Herman Webner, who holds on to that 5th place. There will be that little bit of radio communication back and forth between the different teams around the circuit of where they all stand. Kerry Duplessis and Vessel Woda, two Kramanoulis racing machines, working with one another. Vessel trying to look around the outside, and it looks like that Kerry's going to make it a little bit difficult for him into T1. Over the curbs they go. And Vessel, Kerry fighting it out. I mean, this is just an absolute brawl at the moment. Both drivers who are teammates, are now forcing each other wide, and that is making things rather difficult. The Krabadulis racing machine is just really having a go. The 86 gets involved, trying to get the drive, and unfortunately, Graham Kelly suddenly had Vesselwoda come across his nose, catches them, and for Graham Kelly, I think he could do. He was there. That's it. He had his nose in the front, and unfortunately, Vessel came across it, and that's just cost him a monster of a race, because Lovers, Pretorius, and Conrad Martin clear on by for Harry Duplessis and let's continue on their fight. But man, oh man, the two teammates thought to have a bit of fun, landed up costing the likes of Vesselwoda down the order. What a turn of events, and what a discussion that's going to be over the radio of what on earth happened out there. Now, I know there is a bit of questions out for our AM race here this evening. Unfortunately, our commentator is busy with work, so Cameron DeBastos, who usually does live stream for the AM race, is unfortunately busy with work this evening and has not been able to get back, but he will be back for next week. I know that there is work behind the scenes to have a backup plan in case of things like this happen. That is, in due course, will be coming to fruition. So we do apologize for the stream not being around for the AMs at this current time, but it will be back coming in next week. Apologies for those that are keeping a close eye. Jared Pretorius gets past the likes of Conrad Martin under braking and moves up through the order. Zootflyer, no problem, buddy. Always here to help out, and thanks for joining in for the pros. You are keeping in mind some very good racing at the moment. Jared Pretorius, who has now run clean away from Conrad Martin, will have our leader of the race trying to catch up and clear past Jared McCune and Jeffrey LaRue, now onto the back of one another, with Janus Praley onto the back of him, trying to see if they can close the distance. So far, the only drivers needing to pit is Christoph Peterson, Bago Corbler, Jason Farmer, Henry Platt, Keegan Bowen, along with Jeffrey LaRue, Jared McCune, Chris Beermister, Sean Narero, Kerry Duplessis, and Christian Zetzman in for 15th position. Vesselwoda down in 19th is yet to do his final stop. So there's a number of drivers who are going to fight it out and doing everything they can to move forward through it. Now, with 18 minutes to go, and the fight's still raging on, as we do see Jared going right into the back of Jeffrey LaRue, Janus Praley following suit. I do want to point out some extreme gains and losses of drivers that are still out and going, and I take my hat to the drivers. Even with the loss, they're still going to fight it out, but we'll get back to that now as we see Jared going around the long way. And that's got Frayling up on the inside, gets the dive, a little bit of elbow to elbow. LaRue gets a shallow exit, and this is a 3-wide drag race. Oh, that's just beautiful. That is just beautiful. That's a replay. Take a photo and put it as a screensaver moment. My hat. Well done to all drivers. And Chris Beermister tried to join in with that photo op as well. As Janus Krayling goes for the inside line, he tries to charge his way through. Jared trying to go around the outside. 3 wide again, not going to work. Krayling goes out wide, LaRue goes out wide, and that is going to be Jared up on the inside of LaRue. Krayling clears on by. Chris Beermister gets involved. Man, oh man, that was a fight for 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th position. And there is LaRue pulling into the pits. That's enough excitement for him. He's going to try and get his breath back and continue on. My absolute word, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. Vesselwoda, Ethan Lacuna, Jack Dotz, Jakob Nadir, they keeping into the fight. And, well, I was going to talk about, most gains and losses at this point, but absolutely great stuff for the likes of Zufly, who's going and supporting the Racing Snails as they out at Circuit. Mike Berg, who's currently lying in 30th position, started dead last, and he's up to 30th and still making the climb. So, well, Mike Berg is up 7 positions since he started. A big hats off to him on that one. Jack Dodson, Jakob Neer continue on their fights with Ethan Lacuna for the most gains in the race, it goes to this man over here, Christian Zetzman, who's still got one more pit stop to go. So it is going to drop down, but he has gained 20 positions since the start of the race. You heard me right. Zetzman, 20 positions up the road. His dad and his brother is going to be extremely proud on that one. And when we take a look at the most losses during the course of the race, unfortunately that goes all the way down to Reginald Montalini, who had to serve a drive-through penalty. He was fighting out for the podium in the Pro-Am class. He's now up against William Wentworth, but he is down 13 positions from where he started. He started right into 10th position at the start of this race, over 37 cars. Got off the line, unfortunately, due to a number of different incidents and breakdowns. Unfortunately, we saw a couple of drivers exit out of the race early. We down to 33 drivers out there, and will keep pushing their way through. Honestly, I still run to the old saying, you see the green, you gotta see the checker. And each of the drivers doing everything they can to make that happen. Rachel Montalini and Wentworth fighting it out at the moment, and Wentworth just not backing down with the team try-hard job. Sees Rachel Montalini and knows that he's going to keep a solid defense. Reg going to try and go for the inside on William. Not going to be an easy drive here. Trying to make it stick. Runs out wide. Little clip on the rear. It allows William Wentworth to come back. After that, he thought that William got a little too far out of shape after that little touch. But, well, for William Wentworth, it was just a little bit of a nudge and nothing more to it. Jaco Nadir is trying to make up some time. He's got Ethan Lacuna up against him, and you can see he really gets into the back of the car, trying everything he can. Vessel Woda further up the road, trying everything to move forward. Jack Dot in 29th position. Still need to do his final stop of the race. We've got 14 minutes to go, and we still got a number of drivers out there who are taking the big gamble on when they're going to pit. Mike LaRue's up to 6th. Kraling is into 7th. They have done their pit stops, and they are eyeing out to take over the lead of the race. Gerald Pretorius in 13th is looking to catch up to Keegan Bone in 5th. And at the moment, it is still so close between them. Reg, a snap around, gets a launch on William Wentworth, and oh my heavens, William Wentworth just watching Reginald Montalini throw himself to the curb and into the dirt. Reginald Montalini got sucked in, late braking moment, and you can be sure, foot through the pedal plate, into the floor, and trying to use his toenails to slow him down on the virtual tire at this point. Just doing anything he can to slow that McLaren down after a bit of an exciting late brake maneuver. Ethan Lacuna, Jaco Nadir, they continue to try and get onto the back of Vessel Woda as our closest fight continues out on circuit. Right behind them though, they do have Jack Dodds trying to keep into the mix. Graham Kelly, Donnie Sioncup and Ulrich Diago a little too far from the fight, but right behind likes of Jack Dodds is Ruin Heineke, our 10th position. Oh, is it Ruin Heineke? No, it is not. There's me going and telling a fib. That may actually be our Aston Martin. Yes, it is, of Mike LaRue. Saw the green. There's Jack Dodds pulling into the pit. Mike LaRue will want to try and stay clear of any fights at the moment and look to try and get those passes done and dusted. Anton Lummers caught right back up to Conrad Martin. The two of them know they need to really dial up the wick at the moment to catch up to Zetzman and Pretorius, who have managed to open up a considerable gap to the likes of Conrad Martin. Nearly a 3-second gap from Zetzman and Martin. Lummers is doing everything he can to keep the pressure on. They've got Jean-Ray Buerta in 17th position, who is a pro driver to race out. Vessel Woda with the drive-through. Oh, and Jean-Ray Buerta, you mentioned his name, and unfortunately commentator's curse throws him into the dirt. Vessel Woda with a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded is going to be definitely kicking himself at the moment, with Ethan Lacuna going and smiling ear to ear, as we do see Jaco Nadir behind, allowing the gap for the likes of Mike LaRue to come by. Ethan Lacuna also runs out wide, allowing the pass to happen and not worrying too much there. He manages to rejoin just ahead of Jaco Nadir. Conrad Martin gets a run as Zetzman tails in behind. now trying to pick himself up off the floor, and that was a 3-second gap that has gone all out of shape for the 101 car. Let's quickly take a look at what happened to him, because that is a big moment. Remember, he had a 3-second gap to the likes of Martin and Lummers. So this is heading into T1. He's got Bago Krobler looking around him. He slows down to a near crawl, and also Anton Lummers got a brilliant driver, Conrad Martin. So that crawl into T1 to allow Bago Krobler through cost him the position, and now has Jean-Ray Buerta and Jeffrey LaRue hunting down for the spot as well, trying to close up that distance. Keegan Bowen up against Henry Platt, now trying to fight their way through. Remember, Farmer got let through by Henry Platt and has broken the toe to Henry, leaving Keegan to have a good run at Henry Platt. He has got Jack Dodds right behind him. Mike LaRue a little bit too far back to do anything about it. Ruben Heineker's got Chris Biermester within sight. He's trying everything he can to move forward. Herman Wettner down in 12th position. Unfortunately, out of the top 5 as we see Christian Zetman into the pits. Will be allowing the field to come on by. Jason Farmer follows suit as well. Bago Krobler continues on the drive. He's going to go that extra step. He's going to see how it's going to work out for him. And this is a good tell. Now the pit stop strategy is going to come through as Graham Kelly has the big Mustang of Johan Bago Krobler dive around him, trying to clear through at the moment. Henry Platt moves up into 3rd. Farmer going to be keeping a close eye on this car right here. This is Mike LaRue. This is the viable threat for the podium. And with Mike LaRue, who took the undercut on the rest of the field, is now looking to get the fruits of his labor as he clears the likes of Keegan Bowen and Jason Farmer right up through the pack, and now needs to try and close up a 25-second deficit to Henry Platt up in 3rd place. Bago Krobler is 5 seconds up the road, 5.8 seconds up the road from him. 23 seconds up the road from Henry Platt, 5.8 seconds up the road from Bago is Christoph Peterson, our overall leader of the race. Jared McCurb, Sean Herrera, only drivers out behind everyone that's completed their lap times, and then we'll have to see where they go. Reginald Montalini sharing a bit of paint with William Wentworth, and they have got likes of Donnie Steenkamp keeping them busy. William Wentworth guards the line, and this is still a fantastic ongoing battle between the McLaren and the Ferrari, as Reginald no answer to William Wentworth's defense, both sliding around. And what a brawl coming in out from these two. Jonathan Chrysler as well having a good go at Harry Duplessis. Ethel Nakuna and Christian Zetzman are going to have a go at one another as well. So we're still starting to see these brawls happen around the circuit so late into the race. Jean-Ray Buerta getting the pass on Conrad Martin. If he can get the drive, Conrad fights back, knowing he needs to do everything possible with Chris Biermester and Jeffrey LaRue trying to close up the gap. Chris Biermester now looks to try and tuck in behind Conrad Martin. Buerta opens up the door. Can he get past? He does, as Conrad loses out the drive. He loses not 1, but 2, but 3 positions into the corner. That is an absolute nightmare case scenario. And Reginald Muttolini and the 555 once again contact with Reginald, giving the position back to Wentworth. Reginald tries his luck on William Wentworth, gets the impact, backs off, allows William to get back into position. There we go, looks for the inside, and there's the touch again. Slows it down to a near stop. Oh, nearly going and ramping the Ferrari over the McLaren. And for Muttolini, that is slowly but surely frustrating him to a rate of knots. Sean Loureiro into the pits, and a drive-through that was not quite on the cards for him, and as he gets it completed, he is way down from where he would like to be. Fears getting ahead of Conrad Martin, who is now trying to close the gap between them, and not having the easiest run out on circuits at the moment. Keegan Bowen, Gerald Pretorius, and Anton Lummers round out the top 3 of the Pro-Am, with Christoph Peterson, Bago Krobler, and Henry Platt rounding out the top 3 of Pro. We are seeing brawls left, right, and centre. Drivers trying everything they can. The question is, how long can our front runners keep going? Jeremy Coombe, who still needs to pit, is in for a world of hurt here. Unfortunately, everyone behind him's pitted. Well, 3 drivers ahead of him have pitted as well. So he's trying to open up the distance to this man here, Keegan Bowen, Bern Heineke as well, and Herman Webster, who holds on to the top 10. So still great racing out on circuit. Barrero ahead of Conrad Martin. As Conrad trying to close up to Anton Lubbers, who holds on to the final step of the podium, doing everything he can to make it work out in his favour. Christoph Peterson dives into pit lane. I had a feeling it was coming with 5 minutes to go, and it looks like it's going to be Jan Bego Grobler as well. They've both taken tyres on their last stop. Henry Platt is a little far back at the moment to try and capitalise on it. He will need to consider his stop to try and hold back, but LaRue is the one that's going to be seething at the moment because Peterson's completing his stop. Grobler will be completing his stop, and unfortunately for Mike LaRue, he is miles back to try and capitalise on it at the moment. 3rd place is on the cards for him, but 2nd and 1st a little too far up the road because there is Bago and Peterson leaving the pits. Unless something goes on with these two, LaRue will not be able to take over the lead of the race and will have to just eye it out because he's exiting the final corner, and both drivers are now off the pit limiter and back up to racing pace. Henry Platt is still needing to do his last pit stop along with Jeremy Coombe, and at the moment he's got Jack Darts just keeping him in check. So the Moscow Racing and the Moscow Motorsport machine currently holds on to first. Jeremy Coombe into pit lane for Team Wolf, getting his final stop out of the way, looking to stay in for the race. Reginald Muttolini and William Wentworth fighting it out. These two, I would say the drama and the action, I would say it's pretty much to, if you chuck it back to old, this is a battle of Isidingo right here. It's heated rivalries between the two of them. There's a little bit of argy-bargy, a little bit of touching on each other's wing mirrors and doors, but they are absolutely giving it horns with the biggest smiles on their faces. Christian Zetzman and Ethan Lacuna doing exactly the same. Two of them having a great run. Ethan is in a pro class. Christian Zetzman in Pro-Am, looking to stay right on the back of him. Henry Platt into the pits. That's going to all play into the hands of this man here, as Christoph Peterson, who has opened up a 5-second gap to Bago Grobler, who now sees Wentworth and Muttolini, who are fighting out ahead of him. He's going to be flashing his lights, telling William Wentworth to clear on by. Muttolini is going to take the opportunity to carry on, opening up the distance to William Wentworth. And now it is game on for the run for Mike LaRue. He's up into 3rd place, and now we'll look to try and stay there. He is sitting roughly 9 seconds, heading into 10 seconds away from Bago Grobler. It's a long way to climb up to get up to Bago Grobler. Wouldn't put it past him to give it his best shot, and if he's caught behind, as we do see the fight with the Aston Martin at the moment, trying to clear on through. Not having an easy time with Jonathan Chrysler out there, who was just holding his line, being predictable. Wentworth and Bertolini up against each other yet again, and Gavin Scruton logged with Conrad Martin, who holds on to 3rd place. Now Gavin's fighting out for 3rd here in the Pro-Am class. Conrad Martin trying to hold on to that final step of the podium with 2 minutes remaining of this race. Bern Heineke looks on the inside of Keegan Bowen. Couldn't quite get the drive. He's going to try and get him on the brakes. And unfortunately, the Ferrari just not having the legs on the Aston Martin, as Keegan running out wide. He's got to be so careful. A drive-through penalty here is detrimental to finishing in 1st place, while the rest of the field continue on their drive. Conrad gets ahead of Gavin, but Gavin trying to get the drive of that McLaren, that 720S Evo, right onto the back of Conrad Martin in the 296 Ferrari. Both drivers giving it their absolute all with great respect between them. Not taking any lunges and big moves, but just waiting for a little kink to happen, a little opening in the armor to go through. And even though there's an inch, he waits for 5 before they go for the pass. And that is just showing that they're keeping the bubble space around them, the respect of it, instead of going door to door, hammer to hammer into one another, knowing that they're fighting out for third, and one mistake like that will take them both out of contention and losing valuable points for their championship. So it's definitely a little bit of a waiting game for them at this point. And they're running, sorry, they're not running in third, they're running in fourth, because at the moment Keegan Bone, Jared Torres and Anton Lummers hold on to the top 3. Devin Scruden and Conrad Martin are fighting for fourth in class. Peterson, Probler, Mike LaRue, Jason Farmer and Krayling hold on to the top 5 for our pros as they make their way through. But now Peterson will be getting told when he comes by, this is a final lap for him, as we did see a pit stop coming in for Harry Duplessis? No, it was Jack Dart who dived into pit lane. He's got a drive-through penalty. So has William Wentworth that he needs to serve. William Wentworth finding out with Reginald Mussolini. Unfortunately, that ended up with him at the drive-through penalty. Our race leader on the final lap now circulating. This will then be the final lap for every driver he passes, and it's gonna be a bit of hard work. Bago Krobler 6 seconds back in second place, with Mike LaRue up into third. Jason Farmer into fourth place, 3.2 seconds back. Can see LaRue, but just not close enough to get that grab. Jonas Krayling in the top 5. Keegan Bowen, who's managed to get ahead of Ruan Heineke, holds on to the lead of the pro and field. And Heineke giving him a little bit of a leg round, seeing where he could try and get that pass done and dusted. Sean Herrero and Fafiers continue to brawl on. Christian Zetzman gets the drive-through penalty. Fafiers off into the dirt. Lerero gets the pass. Scruton up against Conrad Martin, who runs out wide. Conrad doing everything he can to hold on to position. Ruan Heineke up on the inside of Keegan Bone, who runs out a little bit to the fringe of the circuit. Is able to keep it on track for just that little bit longer. But coming up down to the wire, folks, into the final corner with Benjamin Till ahead of him. But now we'll be seeing it through. Christoph Peterson takes the victory at Misano ahead of Bago Hrobler in second place. Mike LaRue will take third overall and third in class for the pros. Jason Farmer fought his way through into fourth place, trying everything he can. Jonas Krayling is trying to move forward. Keegan Bone and Ruan Heineke taking the fight right down to the last. Henry Platt lost out a bit of time. He is down the order, but take a look at Heineke. Big send down the inside of Keegan. Keegan tried to drag race him, but it's going to be Heineke up into sixth. Keegan Bone takes a victory in the Pro-Am field, continues the streak. Henry Platt makes his way around in 8th place and is very, very slow out of the corner, managing to get across the line. Herman Wepner will take 9th position, and a bit of a smile on his face. He's, well, I would say a smile, but there's a bit of a serious face. Definitely a hard-fought fight. Comes to a stop, looks to it, and a deep sigh of relief, and I think that pretty much tells it for all. You can smile, Herman. Come on, buddy. Gotta give him a yes. Jared Pretorius comes out in second place for the Pro-Am field, and what a drive on his part, with Jared McCurb finishing up in 11th. Anton Lummers gets himself into third place after a well fought fight. Jean-Ray Buerta ahead of Chris Biermester by 0.2 of a second. Jeffrey LaRue, Sean Herrero into the wall. Johan Fears, Gavin Scruton, along with Conrad Martin. A disqualification for Jack Dart. A disqualification for Jack Dart. That is going to be speeding in pit lane. Benjamin Till, Reginald Montalani, Kerry Duplessis, Jonathan Chrysler, and so many more. Wow, oh wow, folks. What a race. What a drive. And man, oh man, you couldn't have written a better story than that, as we got to see it all. And likes of Misano coming and putting on such a great race. Misano putting on a great race, and what a close race indeed between each of the drivers, trying to one-up one another, trying to improve and trying to score those points. However, it came down to the wire to get those final critical positions. It even came down to two different classes fighting against one another until the very, very end. That is just a dominating show of what it is to be racing here in the EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship, and what a stellar time. So let's take a look at some of the highlights as we wait to have a chat to our drivers after a phenomenal run. We do have third place of our race, and that is Mike LaRue. Let's have a chat to Mike LaRue. Mike, welcome to the commentary box. What a race out there. What a call for yourself in the Venomworks. How are you feeling after that?
Honestly, I'm happy. I did not think I would end up on the podium tonight at all. In practice, it felt like I had zero pace, struggled on light fuel. I just couldn't get a lap in. I qualied on, I think, like 50 or 40 liters or something. And then when the race started, I felt like I had some pace. And then I was like, okay, well, make a stop. And I took a gamble on the second one to hopefully I get some clean space. And luckily I did, and managed to gain a few spots.
Well, talking about trying to get that clean pace, we saw you catch up to a number of drivers that were in amongst the fight with themselves, and you had to try and fight them all the way through. I mean, that was door-to-door battles, and you having to sit and wait for your opportunity, even to one point where we saw you take the dive, that deep breath, lunge it down the inside to get past Jared Bakum, who was on a solid defense. He was fighting for on-track position, but you know that he's protecting his teammate, Bago Krobler, up the road.
Yeah, no, it was a good race. I saw he still had to make a pit. So I was like, okay, well, hopefully makes it a bit easy. And then once I got close, I was like, okay, this is not going to be easy. And yeah, luckily, I just basically sent it. We both had enough space there. But yeah, it was a very good battle. I enjoyed that.
It was a great stuff out there, and a phenomenal work. With 3 rounds to go, how are you feeling for the championship? You getting quite close to taking the fight to the sharp end of the field, but now it's game on to move forward. You got Sean Lerero, who was in 4th place. He was tied with you on points. You managed to get ahead of him. Henry Platt was sitting on 140. You've managed to get 3rd place. That's going to move you up. Bago Krobler and Christoph a little bit up the road, but 3rd is within reach for the Venomworks on a return to RaceFace.Pro after a long hiatus.
Yeah, that's the aim. I did miss the first race, so I did lose some points there. But if I somehow manage to get a P3 in the championship, I'll be very stoked. I'm already happy to be in the top 5, but the P3 would just be the crown.
Well, Mike, before I let you go, after a hard-fought fight out there, anything you want to say to EG Evolved, our sponsor, keeping the race going, but also to our amazing petrol heads who I'm sure cheering from the grandstands and seeing you cut your way through the field?
Yeah, glad to see everyone still watching. It's awesome to have a crowd supporting the drivers and everyone. Thanks to EG Evolve also for making this possible, and as well as like the support from the team and everyone like that. So yeah, looking forward to the next ones and looking forward to a few more seasons.
Absolutely wonderful. Wonderful to have you back, Mike. Crossing the thumbs to see you up towards the sharp end in the field. It's been a while since we've seen the Venomworks going and standing on the podium. Mike LaRue getting 3rd place in the Pro Division, 3rd overall. And before we move up in towards 2nd of our pros, let's bring in first to the Pro-Ams, and that is Keegan Bone. Let's come and have a chat to us. Keegan, welcome to the commentary box, bud. I know you were having a chat to Bago Krobler down below, but how are you feeling after that race? Because it was a battle through and through for you against the pros yet again, and now making it 5 in a row in a streak. I mean, this is getting onto like a WrestleMania sort of moment here. We've got to start calling out a Racermania for you on the streak and who's going to beat the streak.
Oh yeah, no, it's been an interesting season so far. Very fun season. Yeah, loved fighting with the pros. And I was, when I saw I was catching up to Henry Platt, I was like, okay, I'm gonna catch him. I'm gonna get him. And yeah, I mean, it was super fun. The whole race, fighting with Vapner and the guys, and just being in that pack. And then obviously halfway through, when everyone decided to pit and do different strategies, everyone kind of came out in different times and we were all over the place. So, but yeah, it was good. It was a fun race with the pros.
Now I've got to ask that final lap against Ruan Heineke, because you went from, okay, I'm racing, I'm in first place in my class, I've got to just be okay, but then all of a sudden you're in a fight with Ruan Heineke, it's the final lap, and we saw you suddenly cast Logic to the side, and you just went all out to try and get past him. Unfortunately, final corner was just not your corner to get the drive on the Ferrari.
Yeah, it was a fun little last lap there. The lap before, when I was trying to get around Christian Zietman, I went a little bit wide and lost a bit of concentration and ended up having my third and final track limits. So I figured the last lap, I'm just going to play it safe because I do not want to get a drive through right at the end. So I was playing super safe, and it allowed Ruan to really get up in front of me there. And yeah, in that last corner, I tried my best, but I just knew if I went wide, it was going to be game over for me, and I was going to go from first to like seventh. So I decided I'd rather just hold back, let him take the win. And yeah, it was good fun, close racing.
Live to fight another day, as they say. But I mean, Keegan, well done on a victory. Now, before I let you go to enjoy the celebration, I know Adam is waiting in the pit lane waiting for you. Anything you'd like to say to our sponsor EG Evolve that's keeping us going, and also to the amazing petrol heads, to the drivers and teams out on the track as well, going and fighting for the championship?
Yeah, no, I have to give a round of applause for all the teams on the track, and even the guys that aren't driving for any teams. They're doing really well. It's been great fighting with everybody the whole season. Everybody seems to be a lot more settled in the new year now. I think everyone was quite nervous in the beginning of the season, and slowly everyone started to stretch their legs a bit. So it's great to have some good close fighting between everyone, and hopefully a little bit less bashing and crashing everywhere. And yeah, thanks to the sponsors, everyone that's even RaceFace yourselves and you, Stephen. You guys always make everything a lot more entertaining, and we appreciate everything you guys do for us.
Well, absolutely wonderful. Keep having those awesome battles. It's heart and mouth moments, and we absolutely love it. Keegan Bowden taking victory here at Misano for round 5, and that's 5 out of 5 races thus far. But talking about races ongoing, let's have a chat to second place of the pros. Let's bring in Bego Grobler. Bego, welcome to the commentary box. A second place here tonight. The Mustang on rails. How are you feeling?
How's it, Steven? Yeah, good, feeling good, thanks. Wasn't expecting that one, so happy, very happy.
It was a proper run. Now, we did see you go and really put in that serious amount of hard work to get the jump up through the field. What was the game plan coming into this race? 37 cars, Misano, a very difficult circuit in total, and now you're having to plan your pit stops, work your way around, and it looked like there was no real definitive of when people were coming in. The halfway mark was thrown out on the first lap.
Yeah, to be honest, I was expecting a big fight for P2. I was checking, I jumped on the practice server here and there during the week, and guys were doing, quite a few guys were doing 32.4s, 32.5s, quali pace. So I was, wasn't expecting to quali P2, and then I thought, especially the Mike with the Aston would have a lot more race pace, but I think his pit strategy maybe played a bit of a part there because I think he did his second stop quite early and got stuck in traffic. But yeah, I was prepared for a big fight for P2, or to try and fight for P2 at least. So I was quite surprised that, started P2 and just was there the whole race.
And I've got to ask, fighting through the field, you didn't have the easiest of times. We saw lots of silos of battles around the circuit that you had to try and clear without interfering too much, but at the same time not landing up with your race getting thrown into the weeds. How was it fighting through the field and trying to handle all the different circumstances that were out there?
Yeah, honestly, it was not that bad. I think blue flag. I mean, it's there's a lot happening on this track. Track limits is a thing, so it's you have to keep concentration the whole time. And I think the blue flag guys did quite well. I didn't have really issues. Maybe here and there, one or two guys that maybe gets a rearview mirror for Christmas this year. But other than that, the blue flags were really quite good. So I didn't have to fight too hard, and geez, I can think of maybe once where I felt like I lost a bit of time behind a blue flag car. Obviously, you lose a bit of time regardless, but yeah, once where I felt like I lost more than I needed to.
And with that being said, 3 rounds left in the championship. Game plan to try and hold on to that second place, or even take the fight to Christoph Peterson, knowing that you've got Henry Platt trying to chase you down, Mike LaRue, Sean Loureiro, Herman Whipner, just a multitude of drivers who are looking to try and take that second place spot away from you.
Yeah, I think I should have a okay-ish gap to P3 in the championship after this week, but yeah, I think sort of between P2 and P5, P6, there isn't really much in terms of pace. With Mike joining and Jason back and seeming to have his straps with that Lexus now as well. So yeah, I'm hoping that for some just good entertaining races for the rest of the season. I think Chris has gone a bit too far ahead. We'll obviously try and fight him and take some points away if we can, but I think we'll probably need to get lucky to get back in the championship fight, but we'll still make him work for it. But yeah, I think some interesting tracks coming up, some tracks where it's going to be hard to pass and times are going to be close. So I think we're in for some proper races until the season finishes.
Absolutely. Well, before I let you go, anything you want to say to our sponsor EG Evolve, to all the drivers and teams out on the circuit, and most importantly, our petrol heads lining the grandstands around the circuit?
Yeah, big thanks to Andres and the boys at EG for obviously helping out and making this all possible, and to all the admins and to you guys that do the broadcast in the background, everybody that's busy in the background, thank you guys. It doesn't go unnoticed and it's appreciated. And yeah, I think we haven't seen a big drop off, I don't think, in numbers this season, and we passed the halfway mark now, so that's great from the drivers. It's really good to see. Guys, keep it going. I think we've had some incredible races this season and still 3 more to go, so let's keep it up. And then yeah, to the fans, it's always a pleasure to go and rewatch the YouTube streams after the race and look at all the comments and stuff in the live chat. So yeah, you guys are freaking awesome for tuning in every week and supporting. So thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely wonderful to have you around, Beggar Robler, and congratulations on your second place for the Team Wolf in the Pro Division. That being said, there can only be one winner in the pros, and that is a driver that's looking to defend the championship yet again. It is Christoph Peterson moving up through the order. Christoph, the defending champion, all the way out from a German side, is now looking to take the fight yet again to the South Africans. How are you feeling after a little bit of a lonely race this time round?
I'm surprised actually, because I couldn't practice pretty much at all until like an hour and a half before the race, and I'm super tired too. Like it was a rough week, pretty much, like in terms of work. Um, and I saw like some guys like Jason Epsmeyer and Mike Leroux, I think, do like mid to low 32s in practice. So I expected to be like maybe top 5 still, but uh, not really be fighting for a win, or just like even less like running alone for the whole race. Like the gap wasn't big. I think I pulled like 5 seconds at the start of the race, and then it just kind of stayed there. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised actually.
With that being said, how was it cutting through the field? I mean, this circuit is difficult for track limits. Plus, you had a multitude of battles out on the track that you had to deal with to navigate, not to lose too much time. How was it for you? We've heard track limits was a problem for your competition.
Yeah, track limits are an ongoing problem in the Merc right now for me. Like I keep getting 3 cuts in every race, but for some reason at this track where it's so easy to get cuts, I only had 2, so that was fine for me. Even though I had to drive like 50 minutes with 2, but I didn't really change my driving. And the blue flags, like most of the blue flags were really great again, which is I think also a pattern of this season and the last one. Like they're doing it really well. There was just one like battle I had, I guess, with a pro-am. I don't want to call anyone out, but that was a bit odd. I think he wasn't aware that I was already a pit stop down and in a different class, because he complained a bit after I overtook him. But everything went like without contact and stuff, so I guess it was fine.
Well, lots of fun out there. With the final 3 rounds coming up, what's your game plan to hold on to the championship for season 25 here at RaceFace.Pro for the Logistical Nightmare Racing team?
I mean, I don't know what's the next track actually. I haven't looked.
Shucks, you shouldn't be doing that. You're winning the stuff. You gotta know where you are, because next one is also a very interesting circuit that does get drive-through penalties a lot. That's Paul Ricard with one of the most difficult
nice.
pit lanes.
That's nice. I like Porica a lot, actually. So I'm gonna be slow on the straight. So maybe if someone is behind me in the first lap and hangs on, I'm gonna be in trouble. The Merc really, like, it has to run full wing, so it doesn't really accelerate anymore after a while on the straight. The Bentley has a similar problem, actually. So yeah, it's gonna be like in the Honda that I'm a bit of a sitting duck on the straight, but with the format we have in RaceFace, I think there are various ways to get around that with strategy. So yeah, I'll look what I do. The Porica is also a tire shredder, so I don't think I can do something like full tank or something, but we'll see. I'll just try to practice more than for this race and try to memorize the tracks.
Well, it's going to be an interesting round, a circuit that's been called a bit of a parking lot in terms of distance. But before I let you go to enjoy the celebration with the Logistical Nightmare Racing team, anything you would like to say to your team, to the teams out on the circuit, to the drivers out on the circuit, to our sponsor, EG Evolved, and most importantly, our amazing race fans going and tuning in week after week to see the fights?
Yeah, thanks everyone for racing here, for staying strong at the moment when people are saying, like, I keep repeating myself, but yeah, when people are saying ACC is dying, I think we have a strong like core grid right now that keeps going and that keeps having fun. And like, thanks everyone for watching, and thanks EG Evolved for sponsoring RaceFace. Really nice. So, and thanks to you, Steven, as always.
Oh, absolutely wonderful to have a chat to you, Christoph. Looking forward to the racing in the future and seeing whether you can hold on to this championship, becoming a 2-time champion here in RaceFace.Pro. Christoph Peterson for Logistical Nightmare Racing, taking the victory in the pros and overall tonight. Well, folks, with that being said, it has been an absolutely incredible race here at Misano, and we can't wait till the next one. You heard me right, 12th of March, we head over to Paul Ricard for the drivers to fight it out in a door-to-door battle and looking to try and move their way forward in the championship. The tire shredder, the open parking lot, the drive-through penalties, all the straight that absolutely wipes you out. Pull card is going to be an interesting one, but we keep a very close eye because we got LMU next week as well to go and have a bit of fun before we jump over to round 6 of our ACC Championship. So keep an eye on that, and we will see plenty more action. Folks, it's been an exciting one. Make sure you go and take a look at EG Evolved. They've got some amazing products out on sale at the moment and some new stock that's coming in. If you're interested in driving, flighting, racing, anything to do with just having a ton of fun, they've got you covered with some amazing deals and will keep you on track in the air or on the road. But that being said, folks, it's been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Make sure you go and take a look at the link in the description for our Discord. Join up with us out on Discord. Join up on SimGrid. We'll love to have you going and giving it your absolute all here at RaceFace.Pro, whether it's iRacing, LMU, or ACC. We got you covered as the racing hub. But, folks, it's been incredible. Thank you very much to Tim on the cameras, Jim, who's been handling the lights, and from myself, Stephen Koenig, I'd like to say cheerio. And like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.